that. Isn't that cute? Doggy's pumpkins are nice this year. And those butternut squash, look at the size of those with the long crooked. That's the best part too. That's the meaty part there, without any seeds in it. Those long necks on there. Oh, for people who want to make a pumpkin pie, while we're here, let me find you the right pumpkin. Okay, it's not here. These are more decorative. The little sugar pumpkins are nice. They're nice for pies and such. But there is another one. I'll find one for you. Come with me. You'll find it. Oh, look at these squashes. Aren't they gorgeous? All of these winter squashes are very pumpkin-like, and you can use them interchangeably. Even these guys, you can cook them too. They're more sort of decorative, but they'll work. Aha, I think we found it. Yeah. Aren't these beautiful? These are called cheese pumpkins, not because there's anything cheese-like about them, but because of the shape. They're fairly flat, and they're pale in color. You know, they're always kind of yellowish, the skin kind of yellowish, but they have really, really dark, sweet flesh. So this is what you want for a pumpkin pie or any other holiday baking this time of year. You get a cheese pumpkin. These are just gorgeous. Wow, nice. You did want to know about pumpkins, didn't you? To get our cake started, the first thing we want to do is prep the pan. So start with some pan spray, or an even better way to do this is to first brush the pan with melted butter and then spray it, especially if the nonstick finish has any age on it at all, because they do tend to get sticky. So you have to lubricate it very well, and then for best results, I think you should go ahead and dust it with graham cracker crumbs. So make sure you cover it all over, turn it and all of that. And you're also going to have to pick up some of the crumbs and throw them at that center post. That's the only way the center post is going to get coated. But that has to be coated too, so you don't get any sticking. So make sure you get a really good coating on the pan. That's really important, because if a tube pan like this sticks, there's really nothing you can do to save it. So don't let that happen. Now, when you empty out the excess crumbs, don't wrap hard, because you want to leave a good coating on there. Now, if you see any holes in your coating, then just tap them with the spray and sprinkle with some crumbs, and you'll have a nice coating. And also don't forget to preheat the oven to 350. So pan prep, preheating the oven, you're good on that. Next, the dry ingredients. So we're using 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. So measure that out. It'll weigh about 11 ounces. And then the remaining dry ingredients you want to add to that. So that's your baking powder, baking soda, a little salt, and then the spices. So that's teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a half teaspoon of ground ginger, and then 1/4 teaspoons of ground nutmeg and ground mace and ground allspice. Now, I didn't have any ground nutmeg in the house that was fresh enough to use, so I'm grating my own. You don't have to do that. If you're doing any holiday baking at all, go ahead and buy a small container of ground nutmeg, and you'll be able to use that for the rest of the season. So when you have all your spices and your chemical leavenings in the flour, then whisk that up really well. You could sift this once or twice if you wanted to, but I don't think it's necessary if you just whisk it until it's totally smoothly, everything's all distributed. Go ahead and add the chunky ingredients to your dry. So that's about 3/4 cup of chopped pecans, and then your raisins, also about 3/4 cup. You can consider both of those to be optional, but I like both of them. Be sure you break apart the raisins because they're usually a little bit sticky, so you want to get those in, and then your crystallized ginger that you've gotten fine dice. Look at this beautiful ginger. This is the Australian type that's not sulfured, so use that with a rich flavor and rich color, not those pale yellow slices, because they will have been sulfured. So go ahead and mix up all the dry. Now you got that all set. Now you need 5 ounces of vegetable oil and 4 ounces of butter. And if your butter's cold like this is, then just warm it up a little bit in the microwave, but be really careful because it'll pop and explode because of the moisture in the butter if you overheat it. So really just a very, very low power for a short amount of time, just to melt the butter. Now our liquid ingredients. So we've got our 3 eggs, and whisk them up a bit, and then to that you want to add the sugar, which is 1.5 cups. So when you have the eggs and the sugar combined, if you have any lumps, the sugar has some lumps in it, make sure you whisk that long enough to get the lumps out. You shouldn't have a problem with it. Then you can add your pumpkin, and I'm using canned pumpkin for this cake, so that's 12 ounces or 1.5 cups. If you have some pumpkin puree that you've made yourself, or even sweet potato puree or winter squash, that'll be great too. But the canned pumpkin is fine for this. They're 15-ounce cans, so you use all but the last 3 ounces of it. And that'll go right into the egg mixture, and then your fats, your butter and oil. And whisk that up. Add some vanilla, teaspoon and a half of good vanilla extract. And that's your wet ingredients. So now you just want to add the dry ingredients to the wet and stir it up with a big rubber spatula until it's combined, and that's it. So you don't need any mixer or any extra tools, just your 2 bowls and 1 whisk and 1 rubber spatula. So get the mixture nice and smooth, and then it's time to add it to the prepared pan, and add it sort of carefully so that you don't dislodge that nice crumb coating on the pan. So add it from, I'm doing it from 4 different areas of the pan, and just letting it gently flow into the pan. And smooth the surface a little bit. Again, don't disturb the bottom of the pan. and you're all good to go. So this goes into your preheated 350 oven. A tube pan this size will probably need about 50 minutes, 55, something like that. Maybe as long as an hour. It depends on your oven. So it will be, it'll spring back to the touch, and then if you put a pick in there, it'll come out clean with no crumbs on it. So let the cake cool completely, and it's ready to unmold and serve. Now this particular one I'm taking as a gift to my hostess where I'm having dinner tonight. So I am unmolding it into a cake carrier, and we're going to dust it with confectioner's sugar lightly and fairly evenly. Use a really fine sieve for that, and some little green pumpkin seeds. They're so pretty on there, and they taste good too. And that's our pumpkin ginger cake. So I hope you'll give it a try. The recipe is at brucebeckinthekitchen.com. Please stop by, say hello. I always love to hear from you.